Attorney General Richard Blumenthal is arguing that, believe it or not, loopholes in the law allow hospitals to keep medical mistakes a secret. All this comes after an in-depth report from Connecticut's newsroom. Fox 61's Rebecca Stewart has more.
Bill Smith's wife, Linda, went to the hospital 6 years ago to repair a broken collarbone that hadn't healed properly. The surgery went well, but something happened in the recovery room.
Linda had something had happened that she wasn't breathing, and they had resuscitated her, but unfortunately she wasn't able to breathe on her own, and she was not well.
For some reason, she stopped breathing, suffered terrible brain damage. Days later, Bill made the difficult decision to pull the plug.
I don't want this to have to ever happen to anyone again. I feel that everyone has a right to be able to go on to the internet, and if I want to have a hangnail procedure, that I can look up the hospital that best does hangnail procedures without losing my nail. Or if I'm going in for a heart procedure, that I want to know what that best hospital is, what those best doctors are, and what the results are going to be.
Now he's hoping his story, his loss, will push lawmakers to require all state hospitals to be more open. The Attorney General's leading the charge.
The best deterrent to medical mistakes and errors is the sunlight of information. And it is also a means for consumers to make better, smarter choices about where they entrust their lives.
The Connecticut Hospital Association would not go on camera, but they offered this statement. CHA opposes this bill. The number one priority of Connecticut hospitals is building a culture of safety within which adverse events, errors, and near misses are voluntarily reported immediately and investigated quickly, and where what is learned is widely shared and used to prevent a similar incident. Bill Smith won't ever get his wife back, but he hopes what he went through will make recovery rooms safer all across the state.
I don't think I'd be standing here in front of you today if someone came to me and said, Bill, I'm sorry, but we messed up, and because of that, I'm sorry to say that your wife passed away. If I knew that, it wouldn't bring Linda back, but it certainly would be able to bring me some closure as that I would know what had really happened to Linda.
Rebecca Stewart, Fox 61 News.
Joel Faxon is Bill Smith's attorney. Angel Morales says his father fell out of a hospital bed 2 years ago, and he has yet to get the full story of how or why it happened. Thank you, both of you, for coming here today. Joel, if you could, first of all, explain the way, in your opinion, that the law creates a loophole that allows these hospitals to hide mistakes.
Well, the sad thing is that there are many medical mistakes that are never reported. Under the law that we presently have. The law does not require the hospital publicly report anything. And because of that...
how can that be? I mean, just first of all, how can that be?
Well, they've lobbied the legislature for years to have a secrecy provision that's available to them, and they take advantage of it. Presently, if there's a serious injury or a death in the hospital, it can be withheld from the public, and we just don't believe that that's the appropriate way to deal with these kind of really preventable medical errors.
Right, but as your client said, it certainly, obviously, is not going to bring back his wife, right. But he's looking for some sort of closure, or?
Well, the bottom line is clients come to me because they want answers, okay? And the only way you can get an answer in our society today is by filing a lawsuit, because the hospitals don't voluntarily give the information up. So the one thing that, from my perspective, this law would certainly foster would be a reduction in litigation, which... well,
why would you support that, though? You're an attorney.
Well, people come to me for answers, and if I can give them an answer and say, look, here's the answer, because it has to be publicly disclosed, the clients are happy with that. And there have been studies across our country that say that when medical errors are disclosed and dealt with up front, the amount of litigation involved substantially reduces. So, while it may work to my selfish interest to be able to file a lawsuit, my job as a lawyer is to make sure that my clients' rights are protected. And if their rights can be protected and their questions answered by virtue of a disclosure that the hospital would have to make, then I'm very happy with that.
And Angel, as quickly as you can, explain your situation and how this law, if it were to go into place, would help you.
It would, Lori, because in 2008, my father fell from Hartford Hospital. He suffered from a subdural hematoma due to the fall. It's been 2 years. And we have been contacting, the Department of Public Health, and we questioned the hospital, and they haven't been clear and concise as to why my father fell. And this happened 2 years ago. With this law, I believe that there's more transparency. You can request more information, and the information will be there at your disposal.
And you want the information because you want to know what happens?
I want to know exactly what happened from A through Z, due to the fact that the hospital is saying that he fell at such time. Then they changed the story, fell at this other time. Then we questioned the doctor that was attending that morning that my father fell, and the physician said, well, the bed alarms were not in place. Mm-hmm. The nurses write on their report that the alarms were in place. So were they in place or weren't they in place?
So this is the kind of story that you must hear many times.
Constantly, and it's very, very sad. I can give you a couple examples. I represented a client, one you saw tonight, today, Bill Smith. Totally avoidable situation. His wife's medical monitors had to be checked. They weren't checked. It could have been looked at. Nobody was paying attention. She goes off the monitor for a period of time. Nobody sees that she's not breathing, and nothing is done. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, she suffered brain damage in a situation that totally could have been avoided. There was no investigation in that case. The information in the monitors that was available and would have shown exactly what happened to her was destroyed by the Hartford Hospital. And again, if there was mandatory disclosure required, then those questions that they came to me to have answered would have been answered by the hospital because they would have been forced to disclose that information. Beyond
the disclosure, I spoke a little bit with some people from the Hospital Association, and I kind of do see their point, though, about the punitive side of it, that if you put civil penalties on there, it might prevent some people from being completely forthcoming about what happens.
Well, again, the important thing is there have been studies in our country, and they have clearly showed that when there is an adverse medical event and it is quickly dealt with and quickly reported, the amount of litigation is substantially reduced. So, I would say back to the Hospital Association, don't you want to reduce the litigation? And one way to do that is to disclose to people like Angel what happened to his parents or what happened to his dad. I mean, it's information as patients we are entitled to and that we should get, and we shouldn't be forced to go to the legislature to force hospitals to come forward with information when it deals with our health. Just not fair.
How much of a difference do you think that it would make to you had they come forth and said, this is what happened, we apologize?
I would have accepted that, and we would have known that no system is perfect. If a mistake is made, we're all human. We all make mistakes. If they would have come up front and admit to it, then probably I wouldn't be so upset. We're frustrated. The family is very angry and frustrated because we haven't gotten these answers, Laurie. Not only that, but it's posted in every hospital, the Bill of Patient Rights, the right to get information, the right to get your records. It's posted all over the hospital. So do patients have a Bill of Rights? Absolutely. Hospitals are violating. They're not giving the information that we're requesting.
How much pushback do you think that there is going to be? How confident are you that this is going to get anywhere?
Well, again, in the final analysis, I think the important thing is patients have a right to their information. Patients have a right to be informed of what hospitals they should go to for procedures. And if publicly information is available as to how people are treated in those hospitals, obviously the individuals aren't disclosed, but are there adverse events? People have a right to know that before they choose, are they going to go to Hartford Hospital? Are they going to go somewhere else? It's up to them.
Right. Interesting topic. Thank you, both of you, for spending some time with us to discuss it. Thank you, Attorney Joel Faxon and Angel Morales. Ahead, should he stay or should he go? The question is, are you ready to re-sign Coach Jim Calhoun?